A quiet life on Virex 9. The sun rose slowly over the mountain ranges of Virex 9, casting golden hues across the small settlement nestled in its shadow. Birds native to this distant planet chirped as if welcoming the dawn. It was peaceful, the kind of peace that had become rare in a galaxy ruled by the ever-expanding Galactic Empire. But for one man, peace was not just a luxury, it was a necessity. His name was Rayhan, a quiet farmer and father to a 5-year-old daughter named Anaya. To the outside world, he was nothing more than a widower trying to raise his daughter away from the madness of the galaxy. His days were filled with tending crops, repairing his modest home, and preparing home-cooked meals. At night, he'd tell Anaya stories, not of heroes or wars, but of stars, plants, and the forgotten harmony of the galaxy. But Rayhan had secrets. He wasn't always a farmer. In another life, long buried, he had gone by a different name, one whispered in both reverence and fear across 100 systems. Baba, a name once spoken by generals before battles. A name used to warn unruly soldiers. A name etched in the hidden archives of the Empire as an unsolved threat. But that was a long time ago, or so he hoped. The illusion of his hidden sanctuary he shattered one morning. It began with a strange rumble in the sky. Not thunder, but ships. Imperial ships. Rayhan squinted upward as triangular black crafts sliced through the atmosphere, descending toward his peaceful valley. He stood still, heart thumping but expression calm. Anaya tugged at his sleeve. "Baba, who are they?" He crouched beside her, brushing hair from her eyes. "Visitors, but not the kind you talk to. Go inside, sweetheart. Hide, just like we practiced." She nodded, trusting him completely, and vanished into the shadows of their home. The Imperial troops landed with clinical precision. Black-armored soldiers marched through his crops like they were nothing. Rayhan stood on his porch, arms crossed, as a high-ranking officer stepped forward, a cold-eyed woman with silver emblems on her shoulders. "Citizen," she began, voice sharp, "we've received intelligence of an unregistered inhabitant on this planet. A threat to the Empire. A ghost from the war days." "I'm just a farmer," Rayhan replied calmly. "That's so," she said, raising a brow. "Let's see about that." She gestured, and 2 soldiers stormed into the house. Rayhan didn't move. He just listened. Then came the sharp cry of a child. "Anaya." Something in him snapped. Not loudly, not violently, but with chilling precision. Rayhan took a breath. The ground beneath him pulsed slightly. The officer looked puzzled. "What the?" The 2 soldiers flew out of the house, crashing into trees with such force that metal bent and bones cracked. Rayhan's feet hadn't moved. "What are you?" she whispered, stepping back. He looked her straight in the eye. "I'm Baba." The officer froze. The name struck her like thunder. Every soldier stopped. Some trembled. Others raised their weapons, but none fired. "Impossible," one whispered. "He's a myth." Rayhan stepped off the porch. The wind swirled around him, and the air thickened with an ancient, unseen energy. The land itself responded. The whispers of a power long forgotten stirred in the trees. "You came here for a ghost," Rayhan said. "Now deal with the storm." And then, without a weapon, without armor, the man who was once legend, the man the Empire feared but never found, moved like a phantom among them. Soldiers screamed. Some never saw what hit them. Others begged for mercy. The officer, shaking, called for backup, only to find her communicator jammed. The sky roared again, not with Empire ships, but something older, something summoned. Baba was awake, and the Empire had just poked the sleeping lion. Echoes of the past. The smoldering remains of the Empire's scout unit littered the edge of Rayhan's once peaceful farm. Black smoke rose in silent spirals, curling into the morning sky. Silence returned, but it wasn't the same peace as before. It was heavy now, loaded with anticipation, fear, and something far older than the Empire itself. Rayhan stood in the center of the ruined field, his breath steady, his eyes scanning the horizon. Anaya peeked from the doorway, wide-eyed and silent. He turned to her and softened. "It's okay, sweetheart," he said gently. "You're safe." She ran to him and hugged his leg. "Were they bad people, Baba?" He knelt down, holding her close. They were confused people. Sometimes the world makes people forget who they are. But you didn't forget, she said. He smiled faintly. No, I tried. But some parts of us never stay buried. Inside the Empire's orbital command station above Virex, 9, alarm screamed. Captain Zurin, the silver-emblemed officer, was alive, barely conscious, being dragged by 2 medics. Her armor was cracked, her pride shattered. The name echoed in her head like a curse. Baba. A hologram lit up beside her stretcher. Admiral Kale, commander of the 12th Imperial Fleet. His cybernetic eyes narrowed at the sight of her bruised face. What happened? Her voice trembled. It was him, the legend. He's alive. Kale paused, then dismissed the medics. Are you telling me the ghost of the Rim War survived? The man who took down the Titan Armada with his bare hands. She nodded. He has a child. He's not hiding anymore. Kale turned to his officers. Mobilize Black Squad. I want that planet secured. No survivors if necessary. Back on Virex, 9, Rayhan stood before a stone in the forest, an old marker, weathered with time. He placed a hand on it, and a faint humming activated a hidden mechanism. The ground trembled slightly, and a hidden vault opened beneath the roots. Inside were remnants of a different life. A dark crimson cloak, a gauntlet laced with ancient tech, and a small curved dagger etched with runes. Rayhan stared at them silently. He hadn't touched these relics in years. But now he had no choice. Baba, a voice came from behind. Anaya had followed him. She stared at the relics, her innocent eyes wide with curiosity and awe. He sighed. These are things from before you were born. Were you a hero? She asked. No, he said. I was a weapon, one that walked too close to the edge. But you're good now, she said. He looked at her, then back at the gauntlet. I have to be. For you. He took the cloak and wrapped it around his shoulders. The fabric shimmered slightly as it adjusted to his body. When he placed the gauntlet on his hand, the forest around him pulsed, like the world recognized its guardian had returned. Far above, in orbit, a massive fleet began descending. 20 ships, hundreds of elite soldiers. Among them, Black Squad, the Empire's most brutal enforcers, trained specifically for eliminating high-value targets. Each one had her tales of Baba. None believed them. That would soon change. Rayhan didn't run. He didn't hide. Instead, he set traps. He mapped the terrain. He sent Anaya to a secret underground shelter built long ago in preparation for this very moment. He activated the old defenses, plants that reacted to hostile energy signatures, stones that hummed when danger approached, and whispers in the wind that warned of coming death. By nightfall, the Empire descended. Black ships landed like metal vultures across the valley. Soldiers moved in formation, sweeping through forests and fields. But something felt wrong. They heard movement, but saw nothing. They followed thermal trails that vanished mid-path. Then, one by one, they began disappearing. No screams, just silence and shadows. Rayhan struck with the precision of a master tactician, not out of vengeance, but necessity. He moved like a wraith, faster than scanners could track. Each motion was measured, each blow designed not just to kill, but to terrify. By dawn, half the squad was gone. Captain Vorn, leader of Black Squad, barked into his comm, "He's hunting us." A voice answered from the trees. Calm, low, familiar. "No, you hunted me. I'm just ending the game." A figure dropped behind him. Before Vorn could turn, a gauntlet hand clamped around his neck and lifted him effortlessly off the ground. Rayhan stared into his eyes. "You think you know power," he said coldly. "But power without restraint is destruction. I am what happens when you push too far." He crushed the communicator, then vanished back into the trees. By midday, the Empire withdrew. It was the first retreat in a decade. Admiral Kale watched from orbit, fists clenched. "Send word to the High Council. Baba is alive, and he's protecting a child." Back on the ground, Rayhan returned to the hidden shelter. Anaya hugged him tightly. "Did you win?" "For now," he said softly. "But they'll come again." He nodded. "Yes, and I'll be ready." Because now the galaxy knew the legendary Baba had returned. The Empire strikes again. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Baba is alive. From the floating cities of Xylan Prime to the underground colonies of the asteroid rings, whispers carried faster than light. Some celebrated, others trembled. From the heart of the Galactic Empire, the revelation sparked fury and fear. High Admiral Kale stood before the Grand Council, a circular chamber with towering pillars and digital archives stretching into the void. Each counselor was cloaked in dark robes, their faces shadowed beneath glowing hoods. "You failed," one voice echoed. "No," Kale replied firmly. "I underestimated him. We all did." Another voice chimed in. "You sent Black Squad, the most ruthless hunters, and they were dismantled like insects." Kale's eyes flared. "He's not just a man. He's a living weapon, trained by the Forgotten Order, enhanced by ancient tech. And now, he's defending a child." The room fell silent. "A child?" one asked. "Yes. A daughter," Kale said. "That's his weakness. We exploit it." The council approved Operation Glasstorm, a scorched earth directive that authorized full planetary cleansing. No mercy, no survivors. Kale didn't flinch. He had faced enemies before, but never a man like Baba. Back on Virex 9, Rayhan sat beside a small fire in the forest, sharpening his dagger. Anaya slept in a warm cocoon of blankets inside a nearby shelter, unaware of the storm brewing in the stars above. But Rayhan felt it. He always did. The night sky rippled, stars blinking unnaturally. He stood, eyes narrowing. Then came the boom, not sound, but vibration, like the very soul of the planet was groaning. The Empire had arrived. Not with squads, not with soldiers, with dreadnoughts. 3 colossal warships descended through the clouds, casting shadows miles wide. The ground quaked beneath their force fields. Rayhan watched them in silence, eyes calm but sharp. The trees around him bent, as if bowing before the ancient power he was about to unleash. He walked into the forest and tapped a stone. The earth split open, revealing an underground chamber filled with relics from his past life. But this time, he wasn't there to reminisce. He was there to finish what he once ran from. He reached into a locked vault. Inside lay the mask of whispering steel, a tool of silent warfare, and a blade of Carowin, an ancient energy sword forged during the First Resistance. When he placed the mask upon his face, the air around him shimmered. When he gripped the blade, it hummed in his hand, recognizing its master. Above the valley, thousands of drones released from the Empire's ships, a synchronized swarm of death, each one programmed to eliminate anything organic within designated heat signatures. Rayhan activated the forest. It came alive. Vines shot from the ground, piercing drones midair. Trees emitted pulses that scrambled targeting systems. Insects swarmed the machines, short-circuiting them with biological acids. It was not just defense, it was nature weaponized. And Rayhan was its conductor. On board the flagship, Kale watched in disbelief. He's using the planet, merging with it, like a symbiotic warrior. A technician screamed, "Sir, we're losing control of drone sectors 4 through 9. Send the Omega detachment," Kale barked, "and ready the ion cannon. If we can't kill him from the ground, we'll erase the entire valley." Back on the surface, Rayhan moved like wind and shadow. The Omega soldiers, heavily armored and genetically enhanced, landed in pods, striking the earth like meteors. But they were no match. Rayhan's blade danced through metal and flesh. Every strike was precise, every movement deliberate. He didn't fight with rage. He fought with resolve. This wasn't about revenge. This was about survival. Half the detachment fell within minutes. Then the sky changed. A massive circular glow began forming above, the ion cannon charging. It pulsed with apocalyptic energy. Rayhan looked up and knew what was coming. They weren't here to capture him anymore. They were going to destroy the entire planet, including Anaya. He sprinted toward the shelter, entering just as she woke up from the rumble. "Is it time again?" she asked sleepily. He picked her up and held her tightly. "Yes, but we're not running. We're going to fly." He pressed a panel behind the chamber. Hidden engines ignited below, a small craft he had buried for emergencies. It was ancient, crude, but fast. The hatch opened. As the ion cannon began final countdown, Rayhan launched. The sky turned white behind them. He flew between laser grids, dodging debris and incoming fighters. Anaya clung to his chest. Alarms blared. The ship rattled. The cannon fired. A blinding beam of energy tore through the valley, vaporizing forests, rivers, everything. But the ship escaped, barely, crashing into a nearby moon. They survived, but the farm, the valley, his sanctuary was gone. Anaya looked up with teary eyes. Are we safe now? Rayhan nodded slowly. For now, she whispered. Are you going to stop them? He looked at the horizon, stars full of fire and darkness. Yes, no more hiding, no more waiting. It's time they remember who I am. And thus, the hunted became the hunter. The legend rises again. The moon where Rayhan and Anaya had crash-landed was barren, cold, and lifeless, a forgotten rock orbiting a dead world. But for Rayhan, it was enough. The ship's systems were fried, communications dead, and fuel exhausted. They were stranded, but alive. Anaya slept curled beside a flickering heat lamp, wrapped in the tattered corner of Rayhan's old cloak. Her tiny breaths were calm now. Safe. Rayhan, however, sat silently at the mouth of a jagged cave, watching the stars. He knew the Empire wasn't finished. They had failed to kill him twice. The third time, they'd sinned everything. Above in the galactic core, the High Council seethed. The news of Baba's escape reached every corner of Imperial Command. Panic stirred among officials who had once mocked the idea that he was even real. Now they saw, now they believed, and now they feared. High Admiral Kale, scarred and disgraced, stood before the council once again. This is not just about one man, he growled. This is about what he represents. If the people learn that Baba still lives, if they believe he can defeat us, rebellions will rise. Systems will fall. Order will crumble. One of the counselors leaned forward. Then erase him. Not just him, the story, the myth. Destroy everything. Kale nodded. I will take the flagship Oblivion. No more squadrons. No more squads. I'll bring the fire of the Empire down upon him myself. On the moon's edge, Rayhan stood on a ridge, watching as shadows filled the sky. The Oblivion had arrived. A monstrous ship, larger than any he had faced before. It blotted out the stars like a living eclipse, a symbol of the Empire's wrath. He turned back to the cave and knelt beside Anaya. Sweetheart, I need you to be brave now. Anaya opened her eyes slowly. Are the bad people here again? Yes, he said, stroking her hair gently. But they don't know. They've already lost. He handed her a small pendant, one embedded with ancient runes. If anything happens to me, press this. It'll call help from far away. Friends I haven't spoken to in a long time. Are you coming back? She whispered. Rayhan looked in her eyes. I'll always come back. He stepped out into the open, standing alone on the rocky plain as the Oblivion began deploying. Hundreds of elite troopers dropped onto the moon's surface, forming a circle around him. High Admiral Kale descended last, flanked by guards in gold-plated armor. Baba, Kale announced. You're outnumbered, outgunned, surrounded. Surrender, and we'll let the child live. Rayhan didn't move. You came all this way, he said, and still, you don't understand. He took a slow breath. I'm not trying to survive. He raised his arms. I'm here to end you. The earth beneath him cracked. Ancient technology awakening. Runes on his gauntlet began to glow. Energy surged around him, drawn from the moon itself. A seismic pulse erupted outward, knocking several soldiers back. Rayhan charged, like a storm wrapped in flesh. He tore through troopers, each move faster than the last. Energy shields shattered under his blows. Lasers bent away from his body, as if the universe itself refused to harm him. He became a force of nature, vengeance, justice, and fury woven into one being. Kale watched in horror as his men fell. This is impossible, he shouted. No, Rayhan growled. This is memory. This is what you tried to erase. Kale activated his final weapon, a fusion warhead, set to detonate and destroy the entire moon. He laughed. If I can't kill you, I'll erase everything. But then, Anaya stepped out of the cave. She held the pendant high. It glowed, and across the stars it was answered. From deep space, ships emerged, silent, black, and ancient. The forgotten order had returned. Warriors who had once fought beside Rayhan, long scattered, now reawakened. They descended like comets and joined the fight. Kale turned, panic seizing his face. No, 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 no. Rayhan struck the warhead with his gauntlet, absorbing the energy into his armor. Then he drove his blade into the ground. A final, massive shockwave exploded outward, disabling every enemy, every ship, and leveling the entire battlefield. Silence returned. Dust settled, and only one man stood in the middle, cloak torn, armor cracked, but alive. Rayhan turned to Anaya, who ran into his arms. "You did it, Baba," she cried. "No," he whispered, holding her close. "We did it." The forgotten order surrounded them. One of the old warriors stepped forward and bowed. "It's time," he said. "Time to return. Time to lead." Rayhan looked at Anaya, then at the stars. "No, my time has passed. But hers is just beginning." And so the legend ended, not with death, but with legacy. The Empire never recovered. And across the galaxy, the name Baba became a symbol not of fear, but of hope.